Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. We have a very special guest here, Brandon, creator of Avalon, a new comic that is here with us. 2022, brand new comics coming out. They're making a comeback for 2022. I've been noticing a lot of new comics coming out that are really catching my eye. And Brandon reached out to me and said if I wanted to check it out. And I love it. I absolutely love it. It's like the adult modern twist of the stuff I used to enjoy when I was a kid. I love reading these Sonic the Hedgehog comic books, which we're going to touch on in a future video. But I was waiting to get these in the mail so I could show you guys. Like I used to love comics, and it's one of those things where you kind of forget about it as you're an adult, but there's so many good adult comic books out there, and I'm just noticing them now. It's a shame that I didn't notice them sooner. So, my friend Brandon, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, well, I'm Brandon Starocci. I'm the creator slash writer of Avalon comic and all that stuff. I really don't have a huge background in the industry or anything like that. But I do like comics. I'm a big fan of the Walking Dead comics and the show, obviously. And I wasn't a real big comic guy, growing up and all that stuff. I like the traditional Batman, stuff like that, Deadpool or Wolverine, but nothing where I was like collecting them until like honestly recently, and when I really started writing Avalon is kind of like when I really started getting into the community and all that stuff. But other than that, I'm just your normal guy, works a normal job, trying to put as much money into this as possible to get this out there and all that stuff. But that's basically my life right now.
Yeah, so I noticed you had a successful Patreon. What was that like putting that together?
The Kickstarter, you mean?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, you do have a Patreon, but you had a
yeah.
successful Kickstarter. My bad.
Yes, yeah. That was the second one we had. The first one we funded back before March, and that was for the issue one. This recent one was for issue two. We just funded it. I believe the final day was August 5th. But yeah, it was a different experience doing the second issue, because the first issue we were really focusing on family and friends and all that stuff. We weren't public for issue one. For the second issue, it was a little different, because we're public, and now the interviews come out. Now we start meeting people. Now we start talking to people, getting to know the community a little more, and starting to relate to other people as well, and seeing other indie creators as well, and they kind of coming together as well, with other indie creators. And it's kind of been a cool experience with this whole issue two Kickstarter and all that stuff. But learning from issue one Kickstarter and then going through all the interviews and trying to promote it and all that stuff and feeling everything out. It definitely was a little easier with the issue two Kickstarter, but I definitely learned with that one as well on what we'll end up doing differently for the issue three Kickstarter moving forward.
Oh, that's awesome. So you're gonna do a Kickstarter for the third one. So that's good. So we could talk about that a little bit too. So this comic book, very adult orientated. I noticed
Mm-hmm.
you have like the mature rating back there.
Yes.
It's gritty, it is real. The conversations, I mean, very like realistic and captivating. And then you get to the back here where it's black and white, it's black and white, and then you just see the
Yeah.
blood. And tell me that doesn't, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, which is why I don't want to show it all on screen because I want people to, buy it and actually read it. But it's like it sucks you in. And I don't know if you can tell us your inspiration for the story, because when I read it, to me it was like they had a virus that made them like vampires, which we just touched on that briefly before we started filming. But I
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
hear. Yeah.
yeah. And I remember, yeah, because like telling you too earlier too, where it's like it was cool that you said it, because I haven't had a lot of people tell me that, like, okay, I got a vampire kind of vibe through to it. And as I was saying earlier too, it was cool that you saw it like that, because Alan and I, when we were originally thinking about how we want to do this infection and all that stuff, is we were going back and forth with doing like the not so much the 30 Days of Night vampires, like I was saying earlier, more or less like, have you ever seen Stakeland?
No.
Okay, so those were like zombie like vampires. So it would have been, we were flirting around with doing that one or just your traditional zombies and all that stuff. So I think which is kind of cool with Avalon though too, is like you're gonna see our infection, and we're gonna explain it through the story going forward in the future. So we're not. So I won't tell anybody if they're right or wrong with any of their theories or their predictions on what these infected people are. But it is cool that you brought that up, because that was a good influence, or a huge influence on us with our infection, and we were trying to think of how we want to do this and all that stuff. So there might be little things here and there that you're going to see in the storyline that might might be like, okay, vampire like, or they might be zombie like, or whatever. They might be a perfect blend and all that stuff. So it's going to be cool to see this kind of infection in Avalon kind of unfold as time goes on. You start to see more how these things act when the characters interact with those things more and more.
See, I felt like the interaction with the police officers that you had in this issue was so good and so like realistic to me. I'm somebody who loves like watching those police thriller dramas,
Mhm.
investigation. Do you like watch a lot of those? Do you have a background in police work?
So yeah, so a little bit of I used to like some stuff like that. I kind of steered away from it when as I got older, and as of my later years in here. But yeah, I definitely inspired some by some of it and all that stuff, and some sort of relation to it as well. Knowing people in the field and all that stuff. So it was easy kind of to take that and relate it into this story and figure out what they talk like, how they talk, and okay, the partner, they're driving around with each other for years, and so obviously they've got to be best friends. They have their inside jokes and all that stuff. So it was kind of like a cool thing to kind of mess around with Andy and Miller as you meet the two police officers. But funny enough, though, we tried to actually steer away from the police officer thing because it almost seems like cliche, oh, the police officer, kind of following that. But so we did whatever we tried to think of other things to get away from it, but we found it worked so perfectly with how we wanted issue 1 to be and how it was going from page 1 to 24 and then going on forward. And we're really using it to our advantage right now. And then so there's something that we're going to do with it, but we're trying to do it in a different way where people are like, okay, of course, it's just another cop or something like that. But we definitely have a plan and something written out that it is going to be different. So that was one of our things. We were consciously thinking about the cliche cop thing. So we really tried to make a whole new subplot with that whole thing to not make it the cliche cop thing. So if you don't like that stuff, don't worry. We got something different. Yeah.
See, I love that stuff. So I
Yeah.
was like super into it. I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, this is gonna be amazing. But see, now I'm even more curious what's coming next. So now you did 24 pages for this issue. Are you doing 24 pages for each issue?
Yeah, so it'll be 24 pages for each issue going forward. We're looking at 6 issues of volume, our season and all that stuff. So that's what we're going to be doing going forward. Right now, we have written 6 issues done right, like completely done. We're ready for them to be drawn and all that stuff.
Oh,
I'm currently working on the second season arc and all that stuff, the overlay, and then I'm going to get into the like the detailed issue writing and all that stuff. So that's coming up here. I've been obviously the Kickstarter took a lot of my time up, so I haven't really been putting a lot of time into the creation process a lot. But now since that ended, it's been easier to kind of overlook everything and kind of put pieces where I want them and really start the detailed aspect of the season 2.
oh wow. So what's the feedback been like from your friends and family? Like how did they did they encourage you? Did they say, "Oh, you're crazy for doing this?"
A little bit of both still, and obviously this is still relatively new to us. It's the first issue released in March. So we understand, Alan and I both understand that it is going to be a little bit of a long process. We understand that the indie comic world is kind of flooded, so you kind of have to find a way to make yourself different from everybody else, and really trying to get your home city to back you, and that's one thing that we focused on this year a lot. And a lot of good reactions, honestly, when people see it and they open it, they're like, oh damn, they're like, this is like real. This is like a real thing you're doing. They thought I was just like saying it and like, oh, it's just Brandon saying something again or whatever. But they look at it like, oh damn, this is like real. This is like good. And a lot of good feedback. And we definitely appreciate it. A lot of hard work has been put into the first issue. So to hear people like it and all that stuff and all the little things they like as well, it's very nice to hear for us and assuring for us as well. But that's one thing that we've been focusing on.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you and my viewers it was surprisingly good. Like it's to the point where like I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, thank you. To see that, that's assuring again. Like hearing it more and more is it's assuring to us to know like, okay, we got something here and people do like it, people do enjoy it. I mean I want to hear anything, if no matter if it's good, bad, or ugly opinions. I want to hear all of it because all of that stuff will help us get better. And I don't think anybody came at me hard saying it sucked, but I'm trying to like think like because I feel like it'd have some sort of impact. So it's like there's little things like even I just saw myself that with the writing, they weren't really errors. It's just me kind of being hard on myself when I really shouldn't be sometimes. But there's little things in issue 1 that I don't care for, and I wish I did something a little bit different. But it's nothing that's going to make or break it. I'm like, whatever, it's just me learning, I'm growing, and all that stuff. And I've corrected those mistakes where we're at now with issue 6 and so on.
Wonderful. Yeah. So it's easy to be like hard on yourself when you're putting yourself out there and you're like, oh, this is my love child. I love this. I hope you guys love it. But it's so easy to sit there and critique it. Like even with my YouTube channel, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna refilm that whole thing. But I just go with it and just letting people see, yeah, you're a person too, and you're gonna be yourself is a good thing too.
Definitely something I've been learning in this last year for sure. And I understand what you're saying, though. It is something that I'm trying to get myself to think more of, is just like kind of roll with the punches. You grow over time. It ain't gonna be something that's going to change in a day. So taking those punches as they come along and then just moving forward.
Now, with the virus thing, I got to ask, was COVID something that gave you some ideas about this?
So it didn't give us the initial idea, because Alan and I had this idea. We've been writing issue 1. Well, we've been trying to figure out the world for Avalon for years before COVID. So definitely COVID, like I've told people in the past as well, COVID definitely made this easier to write. And made it easier because it's a pandemic. People acted crazy, people did crazy things, crazy things happen. So it definitely gave us an excuse to go like, okay, so now we're throwing the zombies genre at people. People can act weird, people can act crazy, people can see how people really reacted because of COVID. They have COVID to look back on and be like, oh yeah, people really did that, or this really happened, or this person really did this. So it's kind of easier for us to write it and make it more believable because we've seen a lot of this stuff happen in the last couple of years. So it definitely has helped the writing process for sure, especially because the way we're doing the infection and all that stuff. But obviously this infection's elevated. You're getting people attacking people like zombies and all that stuff, or infected people and all that.
Yeah, I saw the bite mark on the neck. I'm like, oh my goodness, virus tournament event. That was like my first thought. That is so cool.
Right.
You're somebody who got me to read a comic for the first time in like probably a decade. So I'm like, I'm just loving every bit of this.
Of course. And I'm glad to be the one to do that. That's cool to hear. Get you back into that world,
Yeah. No, there's definitely gonna be more comic books I'm gonna cover on this channel. But I'm curious, like, what advice would you give to somebody who's like toying with the idea, like, I want to make a comic book, don't know where to start? Like, what advice would you give that person?
If specifically a comic book, it's definitely doable. Not that I thought it was going to be easy when I originally started it, but it's definitely harder than I thought. And again, I want to make the point, I didn't think it was going to be easy. It's just harder than I thought it was going to be. There's a lot more that goes into it than you could really imagine. So you really start to respect the artist, the other writers, and all that stuff that go into making a comic. But just, you have the idea, you have a vision and all that stuff. Just simply do it. It's not going to be easy. Not one step of this is going to be easy. Everything's going to happen that's not supposed to happen. It's going to make you think, okay, this isn't for me and all that stuff. But push through all that stuff, and it's going to be worth it, because once you get that physical copy, or the digital copy first, your artist kind of does all that stuff, and you see like, okay, this is coming to life. It's coming to life. And then the next step is like, okay, I want to see it in physical form. Then you get in physical form, and it just constantly keeps that fire brewing and all that stuff. So just, there are small rewards, but just know that a lot of things are not going to go the way you think they're going to go. There's going to be some sucky parts to this thing, but there's always going to be rewards, little small rewards that make up for it. So just keep going. It's going to be hard, but just keep going.
I feel like that's good advice for any project somebody's working on. And
right.
That's like really, because there's some things I'm working on, I'm like, oh, that didn't go as planned, but I'm going to, push through. And I love to hear that. I love to hear that from like anybody, just like keep going.
Yeah, it definitely changed me as a person in my day-to-day life. It's just like, it definitely showed me that this is not going to be easy, and you're constantly going to hit weird obstacles that make this harder than it's supposed to be. And I kind of, as I did that over the years with Avalon and all that stuff, I brought all that stuff to my normal life, and it made living stuff like easier, because stuff don't work right all the time in life as it is. So just kind of relating all that and pushing it, and just pushing forward as a person and as a creator as well. It's been obstacles, but just constantly just keep moving forward.
Very well said. And now you live in Pennsylvania, and I know the story is taking place in Pennsylvania. So how much of like local stuff that you put in there that people from Pennsylvania might recognize?
There's going to be quite a bit. So with issue one, there's not much, but there's going to be more within the 6 issue spread. There's a lot of little things that I'm gonna, pay homage to the, the city that we live in and all that stuff, and it's gonna be kind of cool seeing it all come to life with, this fictional, realistic city, because I'm gonna make it. It's gonna take place in Erie, but I'm gonna make it in the universe that there's gonna be things that don't exist in our real life universe that are gonna exist in the comic universe, but it's just gonna be cool to have like those little things that Erie has into the story. But there's gonna be quite a bit in that 6 issue spread for sure.
Wonderful. I love to see that. I love looking for little like Easter eggs. I'm sure you're gonna put some in
Oh,
there.
there's gonna be a lot. We actually just got done with one for because the artist is working on issue 3. He just added a little Easter egg for the collaboration I did with a couple other zombie creators, zombie comic creators as well. It was kind of cool to see. But nobody's gonna see that for a while.
What's the timeline you think for issue 3?
Issue 3, I'm hoping to get out in the beginning of next year. I'm really going to be pushing out issue 2 and doing a lot of events coming up here in September, October, and November. Those are months that are actually going to be back to back like events coming up, and nothing scheduled for December yet. That's obviously far away, but so we got a lot coming or going for us in these next coming months, and we're going to be spreading our radius out more and more, because we've been doing surrounding counties, our own city, and all that stuff. And now we're going to surrounding states like, Ohio and all that stuff. I'm going to try and get into New York at the end of the year as well. So issue 3, we're looking at probably early next year.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like hard to put a good timeline on it because it's so
Yeah.
far in the future. And like you said,
Mhm.
things do happen, but hopefully that'll
Uh,
go as planned.
right. Yeah. My goal is to get at least 3 issues out next year. I'm hoping for 4. I'm hoping to do one every quarter.
Oh, wonderful.
So I'm hoping to bang out a lot of issues next year and get them all released to the public.
Yeah, so people that wind up watching this interview might be watching it in the future. I don't know if there's any spoilers you want to tease a little bit, anything exciting, because they're probably going to find it by looking up Avalon and, maybe you got something to say to your fans.
For what's to come in the future.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot. There's a crazy amount, and as the artist is actually giving me these, because obviously I have these written out. And when he gives me these pages done for issue 3 right now, it's just I get more and more excited, and I can't wait for. And him and I were just talking the other day, and he asked me what issue I think he would have the most fun with, and issues 5 and 6 are going to be very, very cool, and I'm excited to see those on page. I'm excited to see what our artist can do. Demetrius Nassos is the artist, by the way. I didn't say his name yet. I want to give him the credit where it's due.
Mhm.
But I can't wait to see what he can grab from my script and throw it onto the paper because he does a phenomenal job. And one thing I wanted to mention though too is the art style for issue 1, same artist, art style from issue 1 to 2 is different. From issue 2 art style is going to be the art style from now on. He's kind of
Oh,
evolved. We're both kind of young in the game and all that stuff. We're both getting better as time goes on. And his art style has changed from issue 1 to 2. But from issue 2, it's going to be the same going forward. And he does a phenomenal job with the panel layouts. And I'm really, really excited for everybody to see what he's capable of doing because he's really making this as good as it can get.
yeah, phenomenal art. I mean, in this first issue. So how would you say the art changed in what way?
It's gotten I'm trying to explain. He does a lot of good things with the black and the gray and from the second issue going on. So the closest kind of pages, because you could see when the 2 cops go into the apartment building in the last
Yeah.
in last part of the issue there. It's kind of like that, but the style of the characters change a little bit though too, where he uses the blacks and the grays. The style of the characters are more not cartoony. I don't want to say cartoony, but they're like there's a realism, but a comic realism. It's kind of like
Yeah.
it just has like that unique comic realism to it. It's hard to explain, I guess. It just to me that's Avalon. It has Avalon written all over it. I love the new art style. It's definitely what it's going to be in the future. He does a phenomenal job, and then the panel layouts he does as well. I can't believe he comes up with half this stuff, because I have some of this stuff written on the script, but him being the artist and seeing it all in his head, he can definitely put it out right and then really come up with these cool ideas. And he does come up with a lot of good ideas, and it's I can't wait to see it on paper.
Yeah, the layout is it's just excellent. I mean, I do want to, that's the unfortunate thing about me being so low tech is I'd love to just put it on there and high res.
Yeah,
Here we are just being the two of us over Zoom, but yeah, just the blood really just catches your eye with the black. It's such a good style. It is such a good art style.
yeah,
I'm here for it.
yeah.
Yeah, so definitely shout out to him for making just incredible art. And yeah, the panel structure, it just reads so well.
And yeah, and it gets even it's hard. I wish you could just see it, and it'll come out soon, obviously. But the art is just better. The panel layouts are even better than the last one, and he just does a really really good job. And he's very comfortable now. We're both comfortable with what we got with Avalon and all that stuff. He's very comfortable with his art style now. He's very comfortable with the story and the characters and drawing them. So it's just getting better and better as time goes on, and that's the fun part with this whole thing.
Well, I am very excited for future issues. I'm going to leave a link to everything in the description, your websites, your Patreon, the artist, of course, his Instagram, all that stuff. We're going to put all that. Anything else you want me to leave in there, definitely message me. But yeah, if you have anything else you want to say to your audience, because you got to keep in mind, they could be watching it 6 months from now. So,
right. Yeah. I guess we can end it on this note right here. We're on every social media platform you can find. And when you do find any of those social media platforms, just hit our link tree. It's going to be in all of our bios. It'll have all of our social media links and all the stuff that we're currently at. You can find us at on that link tree. Most importantly, if you do want to get a copy right now, go to avaloncomic.myshopify.com.
yeah.
That's how it is, right? Yes. Let's go to that. Yeah. I've said it.
I get it right in the description.
Sometimes you say it so much, you're like, wait, did I say it right that time?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the website if you want to get an issue. And if you want to get a PDF version of it, it's only $2 right now for the release of issue 2 coming up. We're selling issue 1 PDF for $2 only. Getting ready, get people excited for the issue 2 release that's coming up in September 10th.
Yeah, and if you have an iPad or something, I definitely recommend you get that PDF. It's such a nice read to just relax in bed. It's illuminated for you. Great way to read it. I love physical copies of everything. That's why I'm a card collector. So I really wanted to get that physical copy in my hands. That's just the kind of person. It's great paper though too. It's a nice thick cover. Like it's really well printed.
Yeah, that printing company, that was the second printing company we used. We really like that one. I think we're going to be we are going to be moving forward with that one. So we're happy with what we got out of them.
Yeah, great job. Just 10 out of 10 all around. I highly recommend this to my viewers. And thank you for coming on the show and sharing all this with us. This was awesome.
Thank you for having me. This was exciting. I had a good time today.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, let us know what you think down in the comments. Be sure to read the description, leave a thumbs up, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye for now and take care.
See ya.